Hey guys, coming another movie for you guys, and this movie reviewing, I was really looking forward to this movie. I know obviously so many people have been anticipating this movie for so long now. I've heard so many things about it, and it is the first rated R animated DC movie, believe it or not. I can't believe it is. It is a very controversial film, and that is none other than Batman the Killing Joke. Now, let me tell you guys right off the bat, as much as a fan as I am of DC and Marvel, I don't watch a ton of these animated direct-to-DVD films. Why? Because I just don't feel I need to. I'm gonna watch them at some point, but to me, I personally feel it's going to be more impressive live action than it is animated. And I'm sure it's good animated. I'm sure those are great. I'm sure they're very well done. I've heard amazing things about some of them, especially Batman Under Red Hood. I heard tremendous reception about that and things like that. And I am eventually probably going to watch those at some point. It's just right now, I'd rather watch a live action film than a cartoon. That's just kind of how I work when it comes to superheroes. However, I was really looking forward to this movie for many reasons. I heard many people say this is one of the darkest, if not the darkest, Batman story to have ever been made and to have ever been adapted. And I was like, shit, they're really taking a risk here. You know, they gave them the R rating. I'm like, all right, they're really not sugarcoating this at all. They're really not going to hold back. This is really going to be something big. And I was really hoping we'd really, get into this really dark, world, and I was really hoping this movie would be great. And after seeing Batman the Killing Joke, how did I feel about this movie? Look, guys, there are remnants of a great movie in here. There are definitely some great scenes in here. There are definitely some good things about it. But really, in general, it's not a very good movie. It's really not. I really think this does not exactly work as a movie. I'll talk about the problems, but for me, really, this was quite disappointing. Now, I didn't expect much going into it because I didn't hear very good reception, but it's pretty much what you guys have heard. And I'm going to talk about why the movie's not that great. But let's get to the plot of Batman the Killing Joke, which the plot of this movie, I think, truly is awesome. I really do love the plot here because Batman and the Joker, they've been fighting each other for years, and the Joker basically really wants to, really manipulate, somehow really ruin Batman in the sense of the Gordon family. He basically wants to attack the Gordon family. I'm not going to, say what he does, but he ends up attacking the Gordon family to basically get them to fall into madness and basically make them just as mad as he is, while we also simultaneously see the story of how the Joker became the Joker, and that basically is the story, and Batman, tries to go stop him from, foiling his evil plot and everything. That basically is the plot of Batman the Killing Joke in a nutshell. There's a lot more to it, but I just don't want to give anything away because this is a very spoiler-heavy story, and I am, of course, going to get into spoilers at the end, but if you guys don't want to talk about that, I will not talk about that at first. But that basically is the plot. Let's get into this movie overall, because there are definitely some things I definitely want to talk about. Now, the best thing I can say about this movie is the acting. Everyone here is fantastic. Kevin Conroy, Mark Hamill, Tara Strachan, they all do a phenomenal job. I think they all were great in this movie. They all really deserve to be praised, and this is my first time seeing most of these characters. Most of these actors. Again, I don't see a lot of these animated films, so this is my first time seeing Kevin Conroy as Batman, how iconic he was. Here's my problem with Batman in this movie. I didn't feel like he was in it enough, really. I mean, yes, I get this is the Joker's story, but Kevin Conroy isn't in this movie a ton. Even in the second half, he's not in this movie a lot. And I really was expecting to see more of him, and he's not in it a lot. He's great for what he's in. He's phenomenal. I mean, he's really got this part of Batman down perfectly. But I just don't think we saw enough of him. Who absolutely stole the show, the one I thought was the highlight of this film without a doubt, was Mark Hamill. Mark Hamill is incredible in this movie as the Joker. Again, I've never seen him as a Joker before, but I can see why people say he has this character down so well, especially since we know, Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker. At least that's what I think of when I hear Mark Hamill. So just hearing him do that Joker voice, hearing him do the laugh, hearing him just have the whole thing, and after so many years, he still has it down. He just kills it in this role, and it's definitely going to be one of those roles that he's going to be remembered for years. I'm very happy he came back. He's awesome in this role, and he has kind of a difficult role to pull off as well, because he has to go from human to Joker. He has to go from playing the not-so-crazy Joker to the crazy Joker, and I thought he did a really good job with that. Really liked that about his character. He definitely was really great. Tara Strachan as well, I thought she was fine as Batgirl, but that's, she definitely did a good job. I thought she was fine. My main problem with the acting was Ray Wise. I really was not sold with him. Jim Gordon, this is supposed to be a role where, Commissioner Gordon is supposed to be very much, going into madness and in a state of shock over what happened, and I just wasn't really buying it. And I don't know if it's because Ray Wise never played this character before, because he is a good actor, but it just, a lot of what he said felt very scripted and very forced, and I just didn't really believe that he was in the pain that the movie said he was in. And I don't think he did a bad job. I think he just was kind of a little bit wooden in some scenes, and he really lessened the impact of a lot of this movie for me. Other than that, I thought the acting was fine, but Ray Wise really, I thought, was the weakest point when it came to the acting. But that really is not the thing about this movie that I want to say. I mean, we expect the acting to be great. They got most of the original cast back. We expect it to be great. That's not the main problem in this movie. That's not the main thing I want to talk about in this movie. Without a doubt, the biggest problem with this movie is the directing and the screenplay, and I think really the screenplay is the main problem, but the directing as well. The tone in this movie feels so all over the place, and it's very jumbled. I mean, there are so many things here that just don't really go together. A lot of the points you're supposed to feel all this tension and suspense, and you just don't really feel it in the way the movie wants you to. A lot of the scenes, the tension just isn't really there. You're supposed to be feeling for this story, and it just feels like you're not really into it. And even the flashbacks in this movie with the Joker, some of them work and some of them don't, and I'll talk about why. But for me, the tone, I think some of the scenes worked really well. Some of the shock, I think, got done very well, but it's just not as earned as I think the movie wants it to be. I don't think it's nearly as shocking as they want it to be. I don't think it's nearly as effective as the movie wanted it to be, and it just, I think the tone very much is mixed up. But by far, the biggest problem with this movie is the writing by Brian Azzarello, and I think the best way to sum up why the writing's so bad is a quote from Brian Azzarello, who said basically this to say about the movie. The thing about this is that it's so controversial, so we added more controversy. Right off the bat, that shows the exact problem with this movie. And you guys know what I'm about to say. This movie is not necessarily Batman the Killing Joke. You go into this movie expecting the story to start, and instead, we get a 30-minute prologue about Batgirl and basically shows how to ruin a character in 30 minutes, because everything about this prologue completely detracts from the rest of the movie. They don't bring anything up from this again. There's nothing really important about this, and the only reason they put it in there is to flesh out Batgirl, because of course, in Batman the Killing Joke, she's not necessarily a character. She's in it, but she's only there to be a specific plot point for what ends up happening in the rest of the movie. I get that. But here's the thing. The way the movie uses her is not in a way that develops her character. It just feels like a random story they put in there. It just feels like they wanted to add more airtime, more screen time to this movie, so they just put it in here. But it completely detracts from everything. And I have to say, the first 30 minutes is almost unwatchable. It is garbage. It really is. I mean, we get into this whole story of Batman and Batgirl. They're fighting crime. There's this guy that's, like, obsessed with Batgirl. It's kind of like 50 Shades of Grey, where she knows that he's flirting with her and, is obsessed with her, and she just won't get the hell away. There's this gay guy she's talking to who she keeps talking about having sex with Batman and everything. And then, spoiler alert, I'm sure you guys know about this, but this is where we're gonna get to spoilers. Batman and Batgirl have sex in this movie, and it's disgusting. It really is. It's not just disgusting, it really has nothing to do with the events leading up to it. I mean, in that time, we have, Batman and Batgirl, and they're about to, she's getting upset, which I gotta say, the stuff with Batman and Batgirl up to that point I thought was very well done. It shows how controlling Batman can be, it shows how much of a mentor he can be, and how much he doesn't want her to do certain things because he doesn't want her to get into trouble, and she is in fact crossing that line and getting in trouble, and she's going against what he's telling her, so she starts rebelling. She yells at him, and then all of a sudden she kisses him, they get on top of each other, and they supposedly have sex, and it just completely feels out of place. The only reason it's here is for shock value, and I really think that's what happened here, is that the writers of this movie wanted to be as shocking as possible, and that's really what the main problem is here, is that they want to be as shocking as possible. It completely detracted from the rest of the story, and the weirdest part is that it's not brought up again. They never bring it up again. It feels so out of place, and it just doesn't fit here at all. That entire prologue, like I said, is garbage. It's terrible. It ruins a lot of the movie. Luckily, it's only the first 30 minutes, but because that only 40 minutes of this movie is The Killing Joke, only 45 minutes of it. The rest of the movie is this ridiculous Barbara Gordon backstory that we just didn't need. I don't know why it's here. There's no reason for it to be here. This wasn't Barbara's story in the first place. There was no reason to put it here. I don't know why it was here. It felt completely out of place, and it just seemed like the directors, they had a good idea. Definitely the writers had a good idea, but it just didn't really work in the end. So that's how I feel about the prologue. And really, you have to judge this movie as two different movies. When you get to the Killing Joke part of it, I think the biggest problem with this movie is that there's a lot of there's a lot of exposition told in this movie. There's a lot of story told in this movie. And rather than hearing about it, I wanted to actually see it. There's this great scene where the Joker is sitting with this guy in the past, and he's talking about how he's failed as a comedian. And I actually really wanted to see it. I just feel would have developed his character a lot more. And a lot of the things in this movie, you'll have scenes that are supposed to be very shocking, and then they'll cut to something that's completely unrelated to that, or they'll cut to something that just doesn't really belong there to pad the movie down. And a lot of this movie feels like stalling. It feels like it's just stuff they added in to just make the movie a little bit longer, because of course the comic book's only 25 pages, when in reality, because it was supposed to be a direct-to-DVD film, they could have just made it 45. They could have stretched it out a little bit more. I personally feel the biggest problem, though, is that it's animated. I honestly don't think this movie should have been an animated movie. I think they really would have served it better if it had been a live-action film, and it's not a live-action film, and I think it honestly would have been cooler to see Kevin Conroy play this character in live-action, see Mark Hamill play this character in live-action. I just think it really would have benefited them more, and they didn't. With that said, the animation here really is fantastic. I don't really have anything to say about the animation. I think it looks really good. Is it really a theatrical type animation? No, but it wasn't meant to be, so I can't really, condemn them for that. I think overall the, animation is pretty good. I definitely really do like it. I thought it worked really well in the movie. Cinematography, like I said, is fine. There's not enough psychological stuff here, though. I heard there's a lot of psychological stuff in the comic. It's not really in this movie, and there's a lot of stuff that I just felt was missing. And especially the ending. I'm going to talk about the ending in a second, but just the screenplay in general, it just feels like it's missing a lot, and it just feels like it's kind of unfinished. And there are some great scenes in this movie, definitely, but it just doesn't work in the way you want it to. And the score here I thought was pretty good. Mark Hamill actually has a song in this movie as the Joker. He really killed it. I mean, everything he did I thought was just great. He really did an awesome job here. As far as the editing, the movie is so quickly edited, and it feels so fast, and it's always moving. They're never stopping, and that's really one of my problems with this movie, is that there's so much time for breathing room in this movie, and there's not enough scenes where there's no time to breathe. There should be a movie where they're always moving and there's no time to breathe. In this movie, they're always moving, but it's always stalling as well, because there's always talking, and I get that there's talking for a reason, but it just feels like they're stalling things out, and they really don't want to get to the good stuff. And when you get to that good stuff, it's cut too short. They started off and it's really good, but then they cut it way too short, and that's really my biggest thing here, is that most of the stuff we really want to see is cut short for stuff that doesn't really matter. And that's one of my biggest problems with this movie, without a doubt, is that I just feel that the directors and writers thought they had the freedom to do things that the comic book didn't let them do, and unfortunately it kind of detracted from the main narrative that they were trying to tell, and I really think it really did not work in the way they wanted it to. So now as a movie, I'm going to talk about the spoilers. I really want to get in depth with the things that didn't really work for me, and if you guys haven't seen Batman the Killing Joke, do not watch the rest of this review. Definitely see Batman the Killing Joke. I really would. I'll give you, of course, you guys can, look at the spoiler tag. Once the spoiler tag goes away, then you can look at my, rating and everything. But let's get into the stuff that worked for me. So, probably the biggest problem for me is Gordon's capture. I mean, none of that feels earned. All of it feels very hollow. It feels very quickly rushed, and you just don't really get the sense that he's going mad. You get the sense that he's not going to go mad. It's very predictable where that's going to go. And there are some good things here. I love the addition, like the scene of the Joker making him hit Batman, trying to get him to basically hate Batman and put all of his ideals into his head. That's genius. I love that stuff. But just the character that played Gordon, I felt was so hollow and just not that great that I just didn't feel really contributed much. But let's talk about the ending, because so many people want to talk about the ending to this movie, and I want to get into it as well, because there are so many things that I really want to talk about when it comes to the ending. Basically, the ending of this movie, basically gives away what the comic book wasn't trying to do. It gives away the fact that, Batman definitely killed the Joker. I'm gonna say right off the bat, I think he definitely did in fact kill the Joker, because after all that, he wanted to help him, and in the end, the Joker refused, and I really feel Batman was just like, alright, you don't want me to help you, then I guess I'm gonna kill you, and he killed him, and I'm pretty sure the Joker's dead, because the movie's called The Killing Joke, and yeah, I get that the Joker says a killing joke at the end, but think about it, the Joker stops laughing. That's not, something that the Joker just characteristically do. It's very uncharacteristic for the Joker to just abruptly stop laughing, so there has to be a reason why, and I'm thinking that reason is because Batman in fact killed the Joker. So that's really like my interpretation of the ending. I really do want to say that. But the other thing I really do want to talk about, and I want to get back to the prologue for a second, because I really do want to talk about that, and how sexist the prologue really is for me, because I really feel a lot of it really makes Barbara Gordon look like this defenseless girl who's willing to give in to any man, and then when she's not, she's a whiny little bitch, and really that's what she is throughout this movie. Think about the scene where there's that guy that wants to pursue her. He keeps calling her Batgirl. That Paris France guy was so bad. I hated his character. That's the perfect example of what this movie shouldn't have been. And then we get to the post-credits, so we have all that stuff, setting up her character, showing all this, men wanting to pursue her, her trying to quit and everything. Then we get to the end of this movie, and she's apparently Felicity Smoke now, going on the Oracle computer, which I don't know. I don't care about her character, and I have to say, I've waited for them to tell the story right. I've waited for them to get the character Barbara Gordon right, and every movie, they fail miserably, because I can't like this character. Everything I've seen her in, I really can't stand this character, and I don't know what's wrong. Maybe she's just a hard character to craft, but everything I've seen, they can't get the character Barbara Gordon right, and I don't know if I'll ever be able to like this character. I don't know if they'll ever get the character right, because everything I've seen, they've gotten Barbara Gordon wrong. So that's really my main stuff of what I really want to complain about, what I really want to talk about. For me, it just felt very unearned. It felt like there really wasn't a reason to spend time with her, because after, of course, she's crippled in the wheelchair, she doesn't serve much of a purpose till the very end of the film, which I don't really know why that was there. Why are we seeing her becoming Felicity Smoke in the Oracle and everything? What's the point of all that? Is there going to be a Killing Joke 2? I really hope there's not. I don't really think they should do that. But overall, guys, Batman the Killing Joke, just not that great of a movie. It's very disappointing. I really was hoping that this would be a very dark film, and it just doesn't feel as dark as it deserves, as it should be. And unfortunately, I am going to give Batman the Killing Joke a 3 out of 5 or a C+, mainly because of the fact that those scenes with the Joker are really good, and Mark Hamill kills it in those scenes, and when some of those scenes come down, like that final confrontation between the Joker and Batman, they work very well, but there's just not enough of that suspense and enough of that tension in here to really withhold the entire film, and a lot of it feels very unearned, and like a lot of it is missing. A lot of the movie feels too long, but also some of it feels way too rushed, and I really feel the movie would have benefited more had it not been animated and had it been live action. If it had been live action, I feel they could have told a better story, they could have done more with it, and I just think it would have been a better movie overall. But overall, guys, in my review of the Batman the Killing Joke, let me know what you guys thought of this movie. Have seen how to hold up for the comic for you. I am going to be doing a spoiler-filled review on Kane LaPlante's channel, Moosies. If you guys know, he does my movie previews with me. But if you guys want to check out his channel, I don't know exactly when we're going to do it, but I am going to end up doing that on his channel, Moosies, so definitely check that out when we do it. But let me know what you guys thought of this movie. Have seen, love to your thoughts on it, and just check out that review, because I will be a little more in depth with some things that I didn't really get to touch upon. But I will see you guys in my next video, which will be, I think, for a classic movie review, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.